At the dealership, my dad pressed the finance form into my hand. Just sign. It's for your brother. My mom gripped my arm so tight I winced. I slipped a note to the clerk. They want me to co-sign a $39,000 loan. The manager read it, nodded, and, my name is Daniel. I'm 31, the middle kid, the one who fixes printers and feelings. I write emails for a living, customer success manager. So my superpower is saying no while sounding like a hug. I rent a one-bedroom over a bodega that smells like oranges at 6 a.m. I run on black coffee and lists. People say I'm steady, reliable. Background. Growing up, my family was loud, warm, always slightly behind on something. Mortgage, car payment, sleep. My older brother, Jason, had a laugh that filled rooms. My younger sister, Mel, kept receipts of everything, grades, grudges, coupons. Me? I was the glue. If a project needed doing, my name got used as a verb. Can you Daniel this? Meant, make it work, quietly. Our parents have a favorite. They never said it. They didn't have to. When Jason walked in, the house tilted toward him like sunflowers to the light. He got the front seat, the last slice, the first pass. When I got an A, Mom would say, "Of course you did. You're our organized one." When Jason passed a class by a hair, Dad would post it on Facebook with 15 exclamation points. So when Dad texted, "Swing by the dealership after work." Big surprise for Jason. I already knew my part. Carry the box. Not in photos. Maybe take a day off to stand in line somewhere. The dealership was all glass and bright music. Salespeople in thin suits moved like they were on skates. Jason stood near a black SUV, polished like piano keys. He had on his "I deserve this" grin, the one he used for birthdays and bonuses he hadn't earned. Mom hugged me, so tight my shoulder popped. Dad clapped my back like we were teammates. "Look at this beauty," Jason said, knocking the hood with a ring I'd forgotten he owned. Loaded. Third row seating. I mean, future kids, right? He winked at no one. I did the brother thing. Looks solid. My voice did that flat tone it does when I'm already calculating miles per gallon, insurance, interest. I could hear my own inner spreadsheet shuffling the columns. A salesman appeared with a pen and the confidence of someone who knows where the signatures go. "We're just finishing up," he said. "Paperwork's simple." Mom's nails pressed crescents into my arm. "You look so handsome in this light," she murmured. Then, lower, "Be kind today." Dad's smile didn't reach his eyes. He held a clipboard like it was a baton he was about to pass. "Just a few things," he said. "Formalities." "Formalities," Jason echoed, looking at his reflection in the showroom window like he'd date himself if he could. I watched a couple across the way arguing in whispers, their toddler pounding a bag of pretzels into dust. The showroom music switched to something with clapping. A blender screamed from the snack counter. Everything felt a little too bright, like the light had teeth. The salesman slid a form across the desk. "We'll need everyone present to sign in the right places," he said. "Everyone?" I asked. Mom's grip tightened. "It's common," she said quickly. "These things are fussy. Don't make a face, Danny." Dad pushed the board toward me. "You know Jason's had some credit hiccups," he said, like he was asking me to hold the door, not a future. Jason rolled his shoulders. "You're the guy who reads fine print," he said. "Just help me out, man." The first trigger was small, a date typed wrong in the header. Today, -1 day. A sloppy keystroke. I stared at it too hard. I heard my own voice inside my head. "Not today. Not again." I didn't say no. "Not yet." I asked, "What exactly am I signing?" The salesman smiled, "Practiced. We'll go over each page." "Good," I said. My voice sounded like someone else's. Calm. Almost friendly. Dad took a breath like he was about to argue. Mom's fingers dug deeper. Jason checked his phone. I looked at the plastic plant, the glass door, the reflection of my face layered over the street outside like I could step out through myself. I thought of my rent due on the 1st, the savings goal in my notes app, the student loan number I still knew by heart. I thought of all the times "just help us out" meant me moving the line another inch, then another. The salesman tapped the page. "Right there," he said, but his pen hovered at an empty line under my printed name, already spelled correctly. "Handy." A blender screamed again. The music clapped again. Somewhere, a printer coughed. I breathed in the smell of new vinyl and stale coffee and pretended not to hear the story my body was telling me. "This is the part where you fold." I didn't fold. I just paused. When I was 9, I loaned Jason my entire Pokemon deck because he promised he'd trade me something crazy rare later. He came back with a sticker and said I should be grateful. Mom laughed and told me to share. Dad said, "He's your brother." When I was 12, Jason borrowed my bike. He returned it with the chain snapped and told me the hill had jumped at him. Dad called it an accident. We couldn't afford to fix it that summer. I walked. When I was 16, Jason threw a party. The neighbors complained. Our parents almost lost the deposit on their washer-dryer financing because Dad had to pay a fine. Mom cried in the kitchen, and I washed red cups until my knuckles hurt. Then set my alarm for 5 a.m. to take an extra shift bagging groceries. "You're a good son," she said into my hair. I smelled like beer for 2 days. At 18, Jason took out a credit card for gas and emergencies, then used it for bottle service and a last-minute trip. When the statements came, Mom couldn't sleep and Dad stopped whistling. We all paid for those photos. At 22, after I graduated, I moved back home for a few months. A few months stretched into a year and a half. My student loans were $327 a month. I paid them. I also paid half the electric when Dad was short. "We'll pay you back," he said. They never did, because we're family, and families don't itemize. Meanwhile, Jason found his calling in Almost Starts. Real estate course, didn't finish. App idea, big talk, no code. Personal training, 2 clients, both quit. Selling shoes online, got bored. He always had a story that made Mom's eyes go soft. "He's a dreamer," she'd say. "You're so practical. It balances." Balancing meant I did the balancing. I learned to say yes before they hit the ask, the way you learn to brace for a wave when you see it form. And there were the small humiliations you don't notice until you line them up. The time I got a promotion and Mom said, "See, quiet hard work pays off," then changed the subject to Jason's new diet. The Christmas when Jason forgot to buy presents. We all laughed and called him Mr. Minimalist, and I doubled up mine so he wouldn't look bad. The family group chat where Mom sent links to cars Jason liked with heart emojis and sent my apartment photo a thumbs up. Money threaded through everything. Not piles of it, just enough that you notice who holds it. When bills came, Mom sighed and said, "We'll figure it out." We meant I'd check my account, calculate, cut. I built a budget that had a category called Family. In 2022, that category totaled $6,840. In 2023, it was $5,210 because I got tired. I stopped tracking halfway through because quantifying made me angry, and anger was not allowed. Mel noticed sometimes. "You're being used," she'd say, then bite her lip like the words might break something. She held both truths, the love, the ledger, and couldn't put them together. She also knew Mom saved pictures of Jason to a separate album called My Star. The ask at the dealership wasn't new. 2 months earlier, Dad called me on a Sunday at 8:12 a.m. "Gonna be quick," he said, which meant it wouldn't. "The bank is being very picky," he said. "They need a second signer. Just a formality." He used that word a lot. Formality, like bureaucracy was to blame for the mess, not choices. I said, "What's the loan amount?" He said, "We'll go over it later." I said, "APR?" He said, "Don't be difficult." I said, "My credit." He said, "You're responsible." That was the point. I was. We didn't talk for a week after that because I'd asked too many questions. Mom texted me a photo of a white SUV with a bow and wrote, "Imagine Jason with a family. He needs something safe." I imagined the monthly payment instead, and the word safe curdled. Then Jason called, the rare one-on-one. "It's not like I'm asking you to give me money," he said. "It's just your name. You won't even notice." I would notice every month in my chest. But arguing with him is like arguing with a radio. You can talk back, but the song keeps playing. So we ended up at the dealership. The manager came out once, a square man with laugh lines. He shook hands, saw my suit, asked where I worked. I answered with the brand name version of my job because it makes people smile. He smiled. "We'll take care of you," he said, and I wondered if he meant me or the sale. The problem wasn't one form. It was history. It was me being the person who could be counted on to carry, to cushion, to stay quiet. My family's favorite thing about me was the thing that hurt me. I was dependable. In college, I learned about sunk cost fallacy. You keep throwing good effort after bad because you don't want to waste what you've already spent. Family can be a sunk cost if you let it. You think, "I've already given them this much. If I give a little more, maybe it will finally smooth out." It doesn't. It teaches the system you will absorb shock. I had absorbed late-night calls. "Your brother needs a ride at 1:10 a.m. Surprise babysitting. Jason promised to watch his friend's kid and forgot. Small loans, $80 here, $250 there, once $900 emergency dental. And time. So much time. Spent making my parents feel less afraid. 2 weeks before the dealership, Mom said over meatloaf. We're so proud of you. You're our rock. Then she slid a printed insurance quote toward me. Just until Jason gets on his feet. I laughed because sometimes the absurdity tickles before it bruises. He's 34, I said. Mom blinked like I'd told a secret. Those little scenes build pressure in quiet places. You get good at smiling with your mouth while your jaw sets. You practice helpful scripts. Of course, no problem, happy to. The phrases that make everyone relax. You forget that you can practice other ones too. Back at the dealership, the salesman flipped pages like a magician. Sign here, initial. My full name looked strange in print, like it belonged to someone more official. Dad tapped the pen against the board, an impatient metronome. Mom whispered, don't embarrass us. Jason checked his hair with his front-facing camera. I thought of the budget category named Family, of my quiet dreams, owning a car that didn't need its own prayer, taking a trip without being available on my phone every hour, finally moving somewhere with a second window. I thought of the number 39,000. It hadn't been spoken yet, but it hovered like humidity. Any questions? The salesman said, and something in me stood up, finally. Not to fight, to ask. Yeah, I said. I have a question. It startled everyone. Dad's pen froze. Mom's hand slid off my arm. Jason made an annoyed noise, like his show had been paused. I pulled a receipt from my pocket, the back of a grocery slip with a note I'd written while pretending to check texts. I pushed it across the desk to the clerk sitting at the terminal. Small letters, sharp. They want me to co-sign a $39,000 loan. The clerk's eyes flicked from the note to my face. He didn't react big. He just nodded once, like we were coworkers in a busy office, and quietly stood. He walked to the glass door of a side office, tapped it. The manager, the square man with the laugh lines, looked up, saw us, and waved us in. Let's take a second, the manager said. His voice was neutral. He closed the door carefully, but not all the way. I could still see my family through the glass, slightly warped by the angle. They looked like a picture I could set down. We stood, just me and the manager, in the small office that smelled like toner. He sat. He gestured to the chair. I stayed standing because my legs felt like the only honest part of me. He said, do you actually want to co-sign this loan? No, I said. Easy as breathing. It surprised me how easy. I don't. He nodded. Okay. I'm not trying to blow anything up, I said. I don't want a scene. You won't get one from me, he said. He turned a page on his desk. You know co-signing makes you fully responsible if he misses payments. I know, I said. I thought of my credit score, my little proud number. I pictured it as a plan I'd watered. I thought of the calculator I'd opened last night at 11:43 p.m., punching numbers until the screen looked like a threat. I can tell them we need to verify documentation and give you a private call later, he said. Or I can say we can't proceed without an in-person confirmation that you consent. He looked at me steadily. Both are true. I appreciate you, I said. My voice shook on you. I hadn't felt protected by a stranger in a long time. He studied my face like I was a customer, not a problem. Do you want me to tell them you declined? He asked. I'll tell them, I said, and the room changed shape. I sat. I breathed. I thought of all the ways they'd fight, guilt, volume, history, and I decided to be specific. We walked back out. Dad looked up with the smile he uses for negotiations. Mom's lips were already forming a please. Jason rolled his shoulders like a boxer before the bell. I put both hands on the table, palms down like I was anchoring paper in a wind. I'm not co-signing, I said. There was a beat of silence. The music in the showroom did a happy whoop that sounded like a laugh track. Dad frowned first. Don't be dramatic, he said. It's a signature. Mom's voice softened into the tone she uses when I'm the stubborn one. Sweetheart, it's family. Jason went big fast. Are you serious right now? He pushed back from the chair. I needed you one time. I kept my voice even. It's not one time. Mom reached for my arm again. I stepped back. This isn't about revenge, I said, surprising myself with the words that had been pacing inside me for weeks. This is about closure. I'm closing a door on a pattern that's been hurting me. Dad's face went red. You think you're better than us now? With your spreadsheets? I think I'm tired, I said, of being the backstop. Jason scoffed. You're making me look bad, he said. You did that, I said gently. Not me. The manager cleared his throat. We can pause this application, he said, standing in the neutral way of someone trained not to get sued. Dad pointed at the paper. We'll find another bank, he said. They'll take his signature. They might, I said, but I'm not part of it. Mom's eyes shone with angry tears. After everything we've done for you, she said. You raised me, I said. I'm grateful. I also won't put my financial life at risk for a car I won't drive. Jason laughed without humor. Unbelievable. I'd do it for you. You had the chance, Jay, I said. You've had chances. The words weren't a weapon. They were a fence that finally had posts. The manager slid a paper into a folder. Why don't you all take some time, he said. He looked at me, then at the door. I'm going home, I said. Dad opened his mouth. I raised a hand, not to shush him, but to mark the end. We can talk when we're calm. I handed the pen back to the salesman. He took it like it was heavy. On my way out, I bought a bottle of water at the snack counter because my hands needed to do something simple and solvable. The cashier said, "Rough day?" I said, "No," and surprised myself by meaning it. The call started before I hit the parking lot. 3 from Dad, 2 from Mom, 1 from Jason. Then a text, "Wow." Then another, "You humiliated us." Then a paragraph that used the word selfish 4 times and responsible 0. I drove to my apartment and turned my phone face down on the passenger seat like it was misbehaving. At a red light, it buzzed 5 times. When I parked, the screen showed 14 missed calls. I watched the number change. 15, 16. I let it stack. It felt like proof, like a screenshot I could file in a folder called Why. Inside, I opened my notes app and typed, March, $250 for their electric. April, $600 for Dad's dental. May, 3 airport runs for Jason, 1:10 a.m., 11:45 p.m., 5:30 a.m. June, edited his resume, 3 versions. July, borrowed my car for a week, returned it with empty tank. August, temporary phone line add-on, still paying. September, dealership. I didn't write it to score points. I wrote it to see the pattern with my eyes. The pattern looked like a staircase I kept descending. The next day, Mom left a voicemail using her soft, crying voice. I didn't sleep, she said. My chest hurts. You know your father's blood pressure. There was a pause where I could hear the TV in the background. Call me. Dad's message was clipped. We'll discuss this like adults, he said, which in our house means he'll talk for 15 minutes and I'll apologize twice. Jason's text came in floods. You owe me. I always show up for you. Name one time I didn't. Then a photo of him sitting on the curb outside the dealership, dramatically framed. Happy now. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and cleaned my kitchen with the precision of someone scouring a timeline. I washed every mug. I wiped the toaster. I threw away the soy sauce packets in the drawer that had been there for 2 apartments. When I finished, the kitchen looked new, and nothing else did. That afternoon, Mel called. I picked up for her. Are you alive? She asked. Last I checked, I said. She made a noise that was half laugh, half groan. They are in rare form, she said. Dad said the word betrayal. Mom said, how could you? Jason said some words I'm not repeating. I didn't yell. I said, as if that might save me. It won't. In my family, the volume isn't the sin. The boundary is. I know, Mel said quietly. I'm proud of you. I sat on the floor beside my couch. I feel like I set a bomb I have to live next to, I said. You didn't set it, she said. You walked away from it. We talked logistics. Holidays. The inevitable family dinner debrief where everyone pretends nothing happened. Then someone says, since we're being honest, and it unspools again. Maybe don't go this Sunday, Mel said. Give it a week. Or a year, I said, and surprised myself by smiling. For 3 days, I didn't answer. The messages got weirder. On Monday, Mom texted a photo of a toddler in a car seat from Google Images with the caption, Safety Matters. On Tuesday, Dad sent a screenshot of an article about supportive families. On Wednesday, Jason wrote, I found a different lender. They said it's fine. You just need to send your social and a selfie with your ID. I wrote back, no. He replied with 50 exclamation points. Literally. I counted. Then he sent, you're dead to me, followed by, come on, man, 5 minutes later, followed by, you don't even need to think about it, 20 minutes after that. It read like he was texting 3 different people and forgot which thread this was. I made a rule. I would respond once a day to Mom and Dad with 1 sentence. I love you. I'm not co-signing. When Dad called, I let it go to voicemail, then texted that sentence. When Mom wrote, but what about our reputation? I responded with the sentence. When Jason group texted the family chat, I didn't join. Mel sent me a screenshot and added, I'll call you later. I sent a heart. Outside of the storm, my life began to widen. Tiny changes, all mine. I put my phone in the kitchen at night. I slept. Not great, but deeper. I walked before work and noticed the woman who sweeps the sidewalk humming. I said hello. She said, morning, boss. And I felt something in me lift at the ordinary crown of it. I made a new budget with a category called Me. It had line items like therapy, $110, sneakers I actually want, $95, a savings transfer labeled exit plan, $300. I didn't have an exit plan. I just liked the idea that someday I could. At work, my manager asked if I'd lead a training. You've got that de-escalation magic, she said. I almost said no out of habit. I said yes and wrote a slide called Boundaries or Kindness. I put it in big letters like I was teaching myself. Thursday night, Dad showed up at my apartment unannounced. He knocked like he meant it. I opened because I'm still me. He walked in, looked around like he could appraise my life by the shoes by the door. You've embarrassed us, he said. No hello. Do you want water? I asked. Neutral. He said no and sat like a judge. He started with a list. How much they'd done. How hard things were when we were little. How Jason isn't bad, just unlucky. How family means sacrifice. He spoke for 18 minutes. I know because I set a timer. When it beeped, he blinked. My turn, I said. I kept my hands on my knees. I love you, I said, not as a bargaining chip, but as a baseline. I'm not co-signing. I will also not discuss this every day. If you bring it up, I'll leave or end the call. He leaned back like I'd slapped him. Is this your therapist talking? It's me talking, I said. His jaw worked. For a second, I saw the math of it in his face. The value of me as a resource versus the risk of losing me. He stood. Your mother is crying, he said. I'm sorry she's hurting, I said. I'm not changing my answer. At the door, he turned. You've changed. I hope so, I said. After he left, I sat on the floor again and let the adrenaline shake through me. Then I made pasta, put on a dumb show, and laughed at a joke that wasn't that funny. It felt like the first clean laugh I'd had in months. On Friday, the dealership manager called. Just checking, he said. We're not moving forward with anything involving your name. His voice had that careful tone. If anyone calls pretending to be you, they might, I said. Got it, he replied. We're flagging the file. He paused. Good job, he added, and hung up before I could make it awkward. The next Sunday, I didn't go to family dinner. I cooked for myself. Chicken and green beans and rice, the kind of meal that tastes like a decision. At 6:15 p.m., I glanced at my phone out of muscle memory. There were no new messages. Not because they'd stopped, because I'd muted the thread. The quiet felt like a room I was allowed to sit in. 5. Closure. 2 weeks later, I met Mom for coffee in a neutral place, the mall food court, where fights feel out of place. She arrived with sunglasses on like she'd been crying or wanted to look like she had. I bought her tea. We sat at a sticky table and watched teenagers orbit each other. You're stubborn, she said finally. I learned from you, I said. We both smiled a little. She took off the sunglasses. Her eyes were swollen. Your father thinks you hate us, she said. I don't, I said. I just won't do that thing anymore. What thing? She asked genuinely. So I told her. Not with a spreadsheet. With stories. The bike. The cups. The airport runs. I said the number $39,000 out loud. I watched it land. She listened. Really listened, which is new for us. When I finished, she sighed like air escaping a tired tire. We didn't mean to make you the responsible one because he wasn't, she said. I know, I said. But that's what happened. She nodded. Jason got a car, she said, like a confession and a complaint. A used one. Not the big one. He's not speaking to me either. My chest loosened. Not because I wanted him punished, because the system had to adjust when I stepped out. I hope he figures it out, I said, and meant it. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, gentle this time. You're a good man, she said. I'm proud. The pause mattered. The words landed somewhere I'd built a soft place.